Welcome to the David and the Bear podcast. Let's have a good time. Yes. Welcome back, everybody. We're on another episode of the David and the Bear podcast. I'm here with my brother Keith Wainwright. I think I said that correctly. Wainwright, right?
Yeah, you did. Uh-huh.
Graduate of Alabama A&M, business owner of KMB Mounting, former A&M football player. He's a father, a son, and a friend of the family, and also just so happens to be my neighbor too. So, what's going on, brother?
What's going on, man? Everything all right?
Can't complain. Thank you for jumping on the podcast with me. Appreciate it.
Of course. No problem.
I guess the real question before we start the actual questions, where you want to start? You want to start on the highs? You want to start on the lows? Where you want to go, my boy?
It's up to you, man. I'm an open book, so I'm a positive guy. So we could start with the lows and then end with the highs.
I got you. So I guess jumping right into it. What's one of your biggest challenges in life?
One of my biggest challenges. That's a good question. I think being a father at a young age. When as a father, you really don't know what to expect. Being a father, especially at a young age, you don't have the guidance that you would desire on how to raise a child, or certain things that you kind of pick up on the way. You kind of just need that one person, like I said, at a young age, let you know everything is going to be okay, and give you that step to step, guidance when it comes to feeding and changing diapers and all the good stuff that comes with raising a child. I think that's one of my biggest challenges, and honestly, it's probably one of my greatest attributes as a father, because when you learn things on your own, you tend to become the best at it, because you kind of figure things out and you have a way of doing certain things. Once you go through trial and error. So, yeah.
Well, you're doing one great job. You're doing one great job. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate it.
So I guess kind of tapping into, you being at Alabama A&M and talking about being a young father, and then also playing football and all that kind of stuff. And then now you also own your own business. How is that kind of, either your experiences at the A&M playing football or even within your own business, how has that kind of shaped who you are as a person today?
Yeah, that's another good question. You're just going back to back, ain't you? I think it shaped me. I think it shaped me pretty well. I think, like when going back to what we said about, trial and error, being at A&M has taught me so many different things, from being a collegiate athlete down to even just in my studies, and also being a father as well. I think the biggest takeaway I could take from those two things is having mental discipline. A lot of people don't talk about this a lot, but being a collegiate athlete, at any level, from A&M is a D1 AA school, from Power Five all the way to JUCO. The colleges, well, in the era I grew up, because NIL and all this stuff is different now. The colleges really don't, I wouldn't say appreciate the athletes, but it's really hard, because you're constantly training and trying to get better, and you're dealing with the emotions on and off the field, your personal life, and then at the same time you're trying to keep up with your studies. You have nobody, holding your hand. College can be either make or break you, and I think if it makes you, you gain a lot from it, and if it breaks you, you gain a lot from it, because you learn from your mistakes. But I think from being a father and being in college and playing sports, it's the mental discipline that you develop, from all the stuff in sports, and then the trial and error, like I said, from the first question with the child, raising a child. So, yeah.
So digging into I guess we can go a little bit on a higher note. What are you passionate about?
What I'm passionate about? Ain't it obvious? No, man. I always talk about my triangle, man. God,
Mhm,
family, football. That's my three um, things I'm highly passionate about. I'm a man of God. I believe that God is died on the cross for our sins. Sent His Son just died down the cross for our sins, and and has provided me a family.
mhm,
Family is very, very dear to me and important to me. They're more or less the backbone of um, for me and, pretty much I'm pretty sure for any father that has a household. And in football, that's like personal endeavors.
oh, for sure.
Um, and I think football for me is over the years has not only guided me to where I am now, but it's provided so many opportunities, so many resources that I can't even explain. Just being around the sport and having the passion for the sport, and when you're passionate about something, whether it's God, family, or football, it's evident.
Mhm,
People, you don't even have to talk about it. People, our gas stations or anywhere I go, they always ask me, "Do I play football?" Or ask about
or
the family,
there's Keith
or
again training his boys for football.
yeah. So if put like this, it doesn't take the smartest person in the world to know who I am and what I'm about.
Mhm,
At first, it wasn't um, it wasn't done on purpose. It's just now it's become who I am, and and when I leave this earth one day, I want people to remember that. So,
well, before we leave this earth, what do you feel like is your deepest regret in life?
oh, deepest regret. Oh, let's see. Um, not listening.
Mm, mm,
Not listening. I have had a lot of guidance and direction. With sports and careers, and uh, in college, and before college, and not listening for me at the time, my life could have been completely different. Better or worse. Um, but if I'm being honest, it was my biggest regret. If I want to get down to the specifics, was not taking football
mhm.
serious as I do now. I think then when I was in college, I was just going through the emotions. I knew what I wanted. But hey, it was a party at 8 o'clock. I was there, you know. Um, and another thing, I think what I regret the most was not taking my walk with God more seriously at an earlier point in my life.
Mhm.
Not to say that kind of affected me now, but I feel like a lot of things could have been avoided had not had my faith in my walk with Christ a lot sooner than I do now. So,
I like that, like that. So, you know, playing college football and then
uh,
having a business and having a family, people are gonna come into your life, go from your life, and all that kind of stuff. Just tapping kind of into your friends. What do you think are the most important qualities of a friend?
oh, wow. I think for me is loyalty, and a lot of people may agree to that. A loyalty, understanding, and you know, support.
Mhm,
When we talk about loyalty, and when you say loyalty, the first person that may be listening to this, they might think, hey, when we speak about loyalty, we think about somebody that's just always around,
mhm.
um, and they're just there for whatever reason and never leaving. That two things could be true about that. But when I'm referring to loyalty, I mean um, undisputed loyalty when it comes to if you're wrong or right. That person is always there, having your back. Um, I think that's the biggest attribute for a friendship, for any kind of relationship, that you can have with someone. And the other two, support. I think support was, the biggest thing when you're trying to accomplish a dream,
Oh, for
or if
sure.
you're trying to get to another level, you need that support because you're gonna have down moments. You're gonna have moments where you feel like, why am I doing this? Is it still worth it?
Mm,
And then support comes in where say, hey, I remember when you was this and now you're this. So it kind of gives you self-reflection of who you used to be and where you're going and who you are now. So
mm-hmm.
um and and I can't remember what the last thing I said, but for me those are the two biggest um attributes in a friend.
So going back to your high note, what are you proudest of in your
Yeah.
life so far?
I think the biggest thing I'm proud of is my the success I had
Mm-hmm.
in the past decade. And I can sit here and tell you a million different um, lows and million different missed opportunity, million different negative things. But when you look at it, my positives, they outweigh my negatives. So I'm grateful for that. So to answer your question, I think my success, individual success, and my family success, and just to see the growth of my family, the growth of individuals that's in my life that's close to me, and even myself. Not to be arrogant or anything, but um, you kind of know where you come from in a sense of like you could see yourself in the mirror like, man, I was that guy and now I'm
Mm-hmm.
this guy. So I think growth is, you know, stands out to me the most. Um, with success and growth at the same time. So
I like that. So so digging into who do you feel like inspires you most in your life, and what qualities do they possess that inspire you?
who inspires me the most? Oh, my wife. Just being honest with you. I spend most my time with her the most. The type of qualities she possesses that inspires me is self motivation.
Mm,
I think her self motivating skills and her motivation that she has within herself has inspired me to become the man I am today. Now, I've had motivation in the past, self motivation in the past, but she takes it to another level. So I think that's one of the biggest things, and her her sense of you know being funny, um, you know, and just having the level of respect for herself. I think as we grow up, we tend to um, look for the first thing coming. And I'm not speaking about relationships. I'm just speaking about, it could be a job, it could be opportunity, it could be a new vehicle, it could be new anything that's unfamiliar.
mhm.
Her level of respect for herself and what she values um, is mind blowing. So I think being around that is kind of you know trickle on me a little bit. So
Mhm.
some quality that she possesses, I possess as well. So
Yeah, I feel like as an athlete, your biggest motivation was make sure that coach didn't say, "Get on the line."
right, 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 right. Yeah.
Blows
So
that
like,
whistle.
yeah, that's a good example. Self motivation. So as an athlete, man, you kind of channel yourself
Mhm.
into your sport. Everything is. I mean, from down to just eating your nightly meals.
Oh, for sure.
I got to eat it in this time. Everything is a competition. So like as you move forward, you have to find ways and challenge yourself in different ways, um, and motivate yourself again in different ways because everything isn't about sports. And I had to learn that. I had to learn that with my kids. I had to learn that, growing up. I wouldn't say after football because I don't think football is done for me, but
Mhm.
these time periods where everything is paused and delayed, you got to learn how to motivate yourself, find new challenges. Maybe it could be the gym or upkeep of the house or, just little small things. So,
So digging into another question, think back to a time that you felt transformed, whether it was, you know, getting having the first kid at that young age, or first time stepping onto the A&M campus, or even opening up the business for the first time, or even some other time. How did you change and why?
being transfer, how that changed and why. Mm. Oh, that's a good question. So I'm gonna get personal. I think for me was the moment um my wife now at the time we broke up,
Hmm.
you know, and I found myself in a period of time where I had two questions in my head. I could either continue the path I was going down, which was when I speak like this, I'm not speaking like I was out here just doing bad things. I've never been a bad guy, but I was living a life that God didn't call me to live.
Mm.
You know, I had no purpose. So when she left, I had to really reevaluate myself to gain my purpose, if that makes sense. So I think that was my transformation once I realized and accepted um, my destiny with God and what He wanted from me. And then the things start flowing in place. It was never easy.
Oh, for
It was
sure.
always it was always a struggle. It was always, and a lot of people know this, but it's been times where there weren't food in the refrigerator. Been times where, and with this is with kids.
Hmm.
This time where I didn't have gas in the car, and I had to borrow money, or I couldn't pay rent. I mean, it's so many different examples I give, and these are real life examples. But that transformation made me become. It took me to another level mentally.
That mental growth is a killer, man. I promise to God.
Yeah, that should be the title. Mental growth.
So I'll keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. Keep that in mind. So looking back at where you've been and where you're going, and then also where you're at now, do you feel you have truly accepted yourself and embraced yourself at your core?
um, mm, yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, because there are things that I thought I'll never do,
Mm.
or become or be. One of those are, I never thought I'd be married this young. You know, um, no, because I still haven't accepted that I'm an engineer. you know, because and people will tell you this all the time when you have envisioned yourself being something and God has you doing something else, you kind of put yourself in a denial
Oh, for sure.
mindset. You put yourself in the mind, and it's crazy because with my career, things come so easy for me.
Mm.
Um, when I say easy, I mean the work, opportunities, the favor that God has stored upon my life in that area become like undeniable. And then when it comes to something that you really want, it seems like it's a struggle.
Mm.
Um, so I think that's what a lot of people deal with whatever they're passionate about. Um, what I like to call it, and if I could write a book, I would like to call it passion versus reality.
Mm.
Um, and there's nothing wrong. It's not separating the two. Sometimes in life you have to combine the two.
Oh, for sure.
And what I mean by that is you can have your passion and you can live your reality at the same time. See, some people they drop their dreams or they drop their passion because they feel like their reality is taking over. But if you find a fine balance, which is very feasible and very possible, um, and I'm reminded about this story all the time. My dad reminds me of the story all the time about Kurt Warner.
Mm.
You
Oh, for
know,
sure. Yep.
yeah, I don't know if you watched the movie, and this is a mere example. He was packing groceries.
Oh, 100%.
And his passion for football was still there. But guess what? He found a balance of him doing what he had to do at the same time doing what he wanted to do by working out, having that mindset, kept his faith. So that's what I'm referring to. So anything that you're passionate about, anything you can combine the two and it will happen. So yes, sir.
Speaking about writing a book, if you wrote a story about your pain or your life, what would the last sentence be?
Or okay. about my pain or life, or the last sentence be? Um, okay. So it's a quote that I've been saying for years. It's not even copyrighted. I should copyright it, but um, it makes so much sense in my mind. I don't know if it makes sense. I don't really care, but it goes by. Many have a I have a vision that many can't see, but when it becomes a reality, many will know.
Mm,
And well, that's as simple as it sounds. You'll be surprised or confused a lot of people, but when you have a vision for your life, right? Um, a lot of people can't see a vision. A lot of people can't see, and it's not meant for a lot of people to see a vision. Because if it was meant for everybody to see a vision, then you wouldn't have a vision because
yep.
it would become a reality right there and then. So many can't see it, but when it become a reality, many people will know. So when it comes to fruition, those same people that didn't see your vision will know that, hey, this is what he's doing. They don't care about where you came from. They just care about what you're doing at that point. So I think that was my last sentence. It's pretty dope.
I like that. We got a bunch of headlines for this podcast, bro. To be honest with you. So, last question before I open up the floor to you to ask any questions to me or pose any questions back to the listener of the podcast is hearing about your life and everything that you went through. What's the most important lesson you have learned in life so far?
Ooh, most important lesson. um, I think for me, the most important lesson it was, you know, um, despite your challenges,
Mm,
despite your, downfalls and your lows and your trials and tribulations, continue to push, continue to keep chasing, continue to keep working towards. And I know it sounds cliche, but it's the truth. I've came from a lot of um, situations where if I knew what I knew now back then, I probably wouldn't went through that situation. But the fact that I kept pushing through, not knowing the end result,
hmm
has brought me to a lot of success to this day. So
Wow. I said that was my last question, but I'm gonna ask one more because why not?
go ahead, you can keep that. I got all day.
What are some of the things you want to prevent your kids or the future generation from going through that you went through?
Um, to not be caught up in the moment,
Mm,
to live for tomorrow. I think we as this generation continues, and me and my wife were just briefly talking about it. That I wouldn't say that lost. They're just caught up in a social media generation. So everything that they see, they want now.
yeah.
So what I mean, don't be caught up in the now. Everything that you do is not going to be spoon fed.
hmm
You have to keep working towards it, and the grace of God wakes you up the next day. You keep chasing it. So I think the biggest takeaway for them is I don't want them to think that everything's supposed to just be given to them. I want them to work, and that was my mindset because I was so spoiled at a young age. Um, I thought that, and it wasn't spoiled like you would think, like money and
hmm
monetary gifts and stuff like that. It was more or less I got what I wanted and how got my way because I did what I was supposed to do. I made
Yeah.
good grades in school, never really got in trouble. But that kind of I won't say ruined me, but it kind of gave me a mindset that hey, um, it gave me a sense of a bigger ego and
Mm,
arrogance that I hated for a long time because if I didn't get my way, I became a little brat.
yeah.
I became so. I think for them is knowing just hey, I don't care who you are, I don't care who your dad is, I don't care, and even the guys that train, everything that you do, work toward, and that's whatever you decide to do. It don't have to be sport related.
So with that, yeah, we can
you
close that with
sure
that
that's the
question.
last one? You can
I
ask
think
another
I
one.
think
You got
so. I
two.
think so. But I'm open up the floor now to you to either pose a question to me or back to the listener of of the podcast.
Yeah, sure, sure. So I got two questions for you. Um, David and the Bear. What was your inspiration to name it that? And what was it derived from?
So the inspiration, the original brainstorm, we were kind of going through like a bunch of different names and all that kind of stuff, and I didn't really know what I wanted to name it. And then eventually, we started talking about like the ocean and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, no, I don't want to be, something related to the ocean. So it hit me with David and the bear. And the background story on that is First Samuel chapter 17, verse I think it's 34 to 36, but don't quote me on that part. But it's First Samuel chapter 17.
Mhm.
It's talking about when the Philistines are, on the Israelites' army and all that kind of stuff, and Goliath is talking all his to the
Mhm.
Israelites, and David's delivering bread to his brothers. And a lot of people who even like read their Bible daily and all that kind of stuff kind of skip over that
Mhm.
story because it's not, or every story is important, but it's not the big David and Goliath story that everybody knows about.
Mhm.
It's the story right
Mhm.
before that where
Mhm.
David goes to Saul's tent and was like, Saul looks at him as like, "What are you gonna do, bro? You're literally a little kid. You're 12 years old,
Yeah.
delivering bread to your brothers. You're not gonna
Yeah.
defeat a giant. It's like go sit back down someplace or go back to where you came from." And David looked at him and was like, "I'm a shepherd boy. I've defeated bears. I've defeated lions. I've defeated so many things out in the wild just for
Yeah.
one sheep. He's talking about my God like that. I'm gonna
Yeah.
kill him." So
Yeah.
it kind of went with that story of the fact that a lot of Christians don't really know that story, and a lot of people don't even know that
Mhm.
story. Everybody knows
Mhm.
the regular David and Goliath, and it's kind of one of those things where I kind of made it my own and made it
Mhm.
look like pretty much if you have breath in your lungs, you have a story to tell. Every story is important,
Mm.
and
Mm.
no matter if you're the privileged kid who had the best childhood or the
Mhm.
kid who had the worst childhood,
Yeah.
your story is important because there's somebody else like you going through the exact same thing that you're thinking about.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm privileged. I really don't have struggles. Like, that's not fair to my friends, or, oh, why do my parents treat me like this? So it's kind of a balance of getting like a bunch of people on and taking our time to just be vulnerable with each other while allowing
Yeah.
ourselves to share out to everybody else.
Oh, that's dope, man. I like that.
Yeah, it was
That's
it
different.
was
It's definitely different.
it was a long time in the making. I was supposed to have actually dropped my first episode like all the way back in think like November, December timeframe is when me and my friends started
Yeah.
talking about it. They ended up
Yeah.
dropping it to like January 31st, actually, was the first episode, and I was
Gotcha.
like, it was I guess my biggest thing is just allowing people to be vulnerable and
Yeah.
allowing people to be comfortable with it too, because a lot of times like vulnerability has like a negative connotation to it,
Yeah, it does.
but
It
it's
does.
like you got,
Especially for men.
oh yeah, for sure, for sure.
Yeah. I'm an
So
open book, man. So, you can always ask me anything or, because I understand what you mean.
mhm.
It's people going through the same thing you're going through. So,
Just to close it out, the my final question is, this is what I ask everybody that comes onto the
uh,
podcast. What's
uh,
one piece of advice that you can share with the listeners of the podcast?
one piece of advice. um, you know, in life, it's okay to not know.
Mm,
It's okay to, it's okay to not have a purpose. Um, it's okay to feel like, you know, that you're lost. It's okay. I'm not trying to get biblical on you, but you know, find God.
bring out the
God,
Bible, brother.
God's
Bring out the Bible.
God is answering everything. But aside for that, it's okay to feel like you know, especially the young people. We grow up trying to figure out things so fast, and if I knew half the stuff I know now, I would probably been the same way.
Mm,
I grew up thinking I'm supposed to have this, but it's you plan out your life and you plan out what you're going to do. But the Lord said, For I have plans for you, you know, I hope in the future. Um, so just understanding that and understanding, you know, that it's okay not to know everything or not know where you're going to be next year or next month or how you're going to get the money to this, you know, uh, trusting God, man, trusting God. God will lead you home, you know. And I can't remember the Bible verse, but you know, it talks about, you know, the birds in the air having
Mm-hmm.
food, and
Yep.
you know, so you know, just having that level of faith, and I think that's the biggest takeaway for me is just trusting Him and having faith, and it's okay not to feel like you don't know, you know. I think that's my biggest takeaway, and I think once you come into balance and understanding that is okay to not know, I think the better off a lot of people will be, and depression won't be a thing.
Mm. We gotta give snaps for that. To be honest, snaps for that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
But thank you,
yeah,
brother, for hopping
yeah.
on the podcast. We do appreciate it.
Of course.
And if y'all might see him on the big stages of the football fields pretty soon here. You know, he's still out there, like you said, he's still out there trying to put his name out there in the record books.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
if y'all need any mounting needs, and don't take that the wrong. Hold on, pause. My bad. Don't take that the wrong way. If y'all need anything mounted in y'all's house, he does have a company that he owns and operates here in the Huntsville, Meridianville area. Um, he has he has he has an Instagram page for that company. He also coaches at Hazel Green, right? You still there or
No, I'm not there anymore. No,
so?
focus on the focus on the kids. Focus on the
Mm.
kids.
So he like he says he does training and all kind of stuff. So don't be afraid to hit him up if you see him in the Huntsville Meridianville area. I don't think he bites unless you bite first. So you know we're gonna have to defend ourselves. But yeah, once
Of
again, thank you, brother, for hopping on. And
course, of course.
if y'all listening to this sitting next to somebody, make sure you tell them that you love them. And we'll catch you in the next one. Thank you for listening to the David and the Bear podcast. Thank you for listening to the David and the Bear podcast, where every story ends in victory. Yes, sir.